A monstrous wave crashed against the cliffs as thunder shook the ocean during the dead of night. At the very edge of the storm stood an ancient lighthouse, its giant beams spinning weakly through heavy rain. Far below the cliffs, a small fishing boat smashed violently against hidden rocks before disappearing into the raging sea. Inside the lighthouse, a small white bunny named Soul suddenly lifted his ears. Someone was crying outside. Soul lived alone inside the old lighthouse with an elderly keeper named Moran every night. The bunny helped carry tiny oilcloths and ropes while Moran kept the lighthouse burning for lost ships at sea. "The light saves lives," the old keeper always said, and Soul believed him. That night, while the storm roared louder than ever before, Soul heard the crying again. The tiny bunny rushed toward the lighthouse door and scratched frantically at it. Moran frowned. "What is it, little one?" The bunny kept pulling toward the storm. Then a faint child's cry echoed from somewhere below the cliffs. Moran grabbed a lantern while Soul sprinted ahead through the storm. Together they climbed dangerous wet rocks beside the crashing ocean waves. Far below, trapped between sharp rocks and rising seawater, was a young human boy clinging desperately to driftwood. The boy was freezing. Every wave pulled him closer toward the violent sea. "We have to hurry," Moran shouted, but the cliffs were too steep for the old man to climb down safely. Without hesitation, Soul leaped between the slippery rocks, carrying a rope tied around his tiny body. Wind nearly threw him into the ocean several times, but the bunny kept moving lower toward the trapped child. The boy looked up in shock. A bunny. Soul pushed the rope toward the boy while waves crashed violently around them. The freezing child grabbed it tightly with trembling hands. Above them, Moran slowly pulled with all his remaining strength. A giant wave suddenly slammed against the rocks. Water exploded everywhere. The rope snapped tight violently while Soul lost his footing and disappeared beneath the dark water. "No!" the boy screamed. For one horrifying moment, only the storm answered back. Then suddenly a tiny white paw grabbed the rocks again. Soul climbed back up through the crashing waves, soaked but alive. Together, Moran and the boy finally reached the top of the cliffs safely. The exhausted child collapsed inside the warm lighthouse while Soul curled beside the fireplace, shivering from cold. The boy stared quietly at the tiny bunny who had risked everything to save him. When morning finally arrived, the storm disappeared completely. Golden sunlight spread across the ocean while rescue boats searched the coastline. The boy's family arrived soon after, overwhelmed with relief. But before leaving, the child walked toward Soul one last time. He knelt beside the bunny carefully. Everyone saw the lighthouse light. The boy whispered softly, "But you were the one who truly found me." The bunny's ears twitched gently. Years later, sailors crossing the dangerous cliffs still spoke about the old lighthouse where ships never lost their way. And some swore that during the fiercest storms, they could still see a tiny white figure standing beside the great light. Because even in the darkest storms, the smallest guide can become someone's way home.